Our Black History Month focus today is on USMNT legend Tony Sanneh. With DC United, he was a two-time MLS Cup winner, scoring in 2 finals. Pretty incredible. Then his career took him to Germany, where he enjoyed a successful stint in the Bundesliga with Hertha Berlin and Nuremberg. And with the U.S. men's national team, he earned 43 caps, including being lights out at the 2002 World Cup. Of course, a legend of the game. He was voted into the U.S. Soccer Hall of Fame for this class of 2026. On that note, we do bring in Tony. Tony, welcome to the show. Congratulations, first off, for the induction into the Hall of Fame, on everything you're doing with your foundation. It's great to have you here on Morning Footy.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Tony, talk to me a little bit about how you reflect back on your career, especially with this Hall of Fame announcement. It feels like these flowers that you're getting have been a long time coming.
Well, I am so honored to join a group of people, but also then now comes responsibility. It also represents, everyone that's helped me along the way, all the people, the players, my teammates, my coaches. So it is truly an honor. My journey was truly a journey. Coming from Minnesota, which was not known as a soccer hotbed, and really stopping at every level of the way, from like the US ISL, from indoor soccer, local colleges, up to the MLS. I really got to play at every level. And so I learned a lot and got a lot of friends, and it feels really good, to be honest with you. And so I would be disappointed if I said it wasn't a big deal. It makes me smile thinking about it.
You absolutely deserve it, man. Congratulations. I'm really glad we're able to spotlight your career, because you paved the way for so many people, right, Lahoud?
Yeah, look, I grew up in the D.C. area. I remember going to games and watching Tony. I actually, as a former player, Zach Thornton told me they used to call you the big cat, the big kitty, right?
The big kitty.
No, look, Tony, you've been a trailblazer for so many players, me included, but you look at the men's national team, you look at a player like one of your teammates in the 2002 World Cup, DeMarcus Beasley, down to Weston McKennie. But to flip it back, who are some of your role models as one of the up-and-coming African-American players in the U.S. men's national team at the time?
Well, Jimmy Banks, obviously was from the Midwest, and was a role model. Desmond obviously was a key figure there. And then there was, some guys that were just good, like Tav Ramis, or guys like John Harkes that was in England. And then when I first got introduced to the team, probably the nicest guy in the team was Marcelo Balboa, just like welcoming, and he doesn't get a lot of credit for it. But Eric Ronaldo was one of the guys that really, I would say, was kind to me and let me know that I should be way better than I was and that I belonged, and kind of told me to shape up and be good.
Wow, that's pretty epic. I mean, just hearing all of these names, a lot of those guys from 94 into 98, a team you didn't make, and then come 2002, where you had, I wouldn't just say a moment, that was your masterpiece with the U.S. men's national team, that 2002 squad, and you playing such a pivotal role goes down in the annals of U.S. men's national team history. How daunting was it going to a World Cup, having the career that you had to back you up, take you to Korea and Japan?
I mean, I know I'm blessed. I had a lot of opportunities. I had a lot of people, look out for me. I think, whether or not we had the social media publicity or popularity, I always took pride in helping every team I played get better. And so I wanted to be a winner. And, I think me and Bruce got along for that reason. And, with my stint there, but playing for your country, there's nothing better, to represent your country in front of all these people. And I would say about that team, we were a team, simple as that. We were one team, and, there was a lot of who's going to play and who's better getting up there. But once we got there, we were one team. We all support each other. we were excited to see the success of each other, and we just kept stepping up for each other. So it was great to be a part of something like that.
So I had the ability to talk with Eddie Pope, someone who you won trophies with and was also on the field with you for the 2002 World Cup. But I've always been curious about this. What was it like being on the field for that Portugal match? Because I remember as a high schooler watching you literally shut down Luis Figo, who was a Ballon d'Or winner.
Yeah, you know, like the first game of the World Cup, it was amazing because like you're finally there, right? And you're thinking of yourself like the year before, the month before, don't get hurt, just be there. And for me, like I didn't find it a problem to perform in the big games. You know, I scored in all my championship games. And so this was like a coming out party. Like I got to dance, right? And so, and playing with a guy like Eddie was like, you just knew that he was a guy that you could count on. No matter what, Eddie was going to be there. You didn't worry about your man, his man, like it was the team. But it was surreal. And I still remember just thinking to myself during the national anthem that it's happening. And I started, you know, the best part was I was sharing that moment with everyone that ever supported me. I was like, we did it. And thank you. And I'm going to give you this moment back. And, you know, we went up and it just kept going and kept going. And it was like magic. And then all of a sudden, like the record, you know, and then I just remembered how tired I was, like the last 15 minutes, and we were all cramping and holding on for our lives. But I would say we'll go down as one of the bigger, you know, games in U.S. soccer history for sure. And we did shock the world. And, you know, I don't really like to compare different teams, but what I can say is on that day, the U.S. team, you know, played one of the best performances against a world, you know, winner in history.
Yeah, and then we got robbed against Germany, but we can talk about that later. Tony, you mentioned comparing teams, right? If you can give the team from today something that you guys had, what would it be?
Well, you know, our team wasn't always the team, right? You know, I think we lost like 4-1 against Honduras at home in DC, and everyone's like, you're not going to qualify. You know, we had belief in each other. And, you know, I think we had a little bit more experience because we were a little bit older than this team. But, you know, when we got there, we truly became a team. And I think that's what you'll see with this team. And, you know, it may not be popular, but, you know, one of the, I feel, underrated coaches was Klinsmann, because, you know, I look at what he did with his team in Brazil, and I would say that's the first time the U.S. team has learned how to win. You know, our team played great, and we were like, you know what, we're going to take our gloves off and fight you. But in the end, Germany still won. And it doesn't matter if what happened on a call. It's like, you know, we hadn't gotten that mentality yet. Although our team, I felt, was better than the team that played in Brazil, their team just knew how to win like the Germans do. And I think that was a big step in American history where we knew like we belonged there, and they knew how to win. I think our team can teach this team how to fight and how to like respect yourselves and, you know, and hold each other accountable. You know, you don't just win by going out there. You go out there believing that on this day, if you all give your best and work together, you got a chance, and you're as good as anyone in the world.
So, Tony, I'm going to put you on the spot, right? We've kind of had this conversation here in studio, projecting in the future, but as someone who's been there and done that for the U.S. men's national team, how far do you think this current U.S. team could go in the World Cup?
Whoa. You know, I think one of the things is we have to be realistic too, right? I mean, you know, you look at, you know, our players, even when I was there, like compared to the rest of the world. You know, I think if we can get to the quarterfinals, it's a win, right? I think, you know, the expectation is to get to the round of 16. If you get to the quarterfinals, you know, you can't expect more than to be one of the best 8 teams in the world. Then it's luck, and some teams are just better on paper. And then, you know, I think if we could get to the semifinals, it would be, you know, a 200 out of 100. So, you know, my goal is that that they can get to the quarters, and then anything can happen. But first, we got to get out of our group and not be overconfident. But, you know, I think we can make a run. especially if we can get, this country behind us. And we have a coach that's proven he can win. We have players that are playing every day and overall healthy. I think, Christian, I think if he is on and healthy during the World Cup, he can be a difference maker. You see, Weston, maybe one of the most underrated U.S. players at all time, is probably like coming into his real prime. And so if these two guys have, star World Cups, we can make a real run.
So exciting to see what happens with the team in 2026. Exciting like your career, Tony. But I think some people could argue that your post-playing career is just as incredible because of everything you've done with the Tony Sanneh Foundation for the community of Minnesota. What has that been like? I spoke to Tony Miola, actually, who said he was there for some clinics and that it was an absolutely wonderful experience. What's it been like to head your foundation and give back to your community?
Well, like at the end of my career, let's just say, like, I wasn't necessarily the most popular player, but the coaches loved me because I helped win. And when it came time to retire, I wasn't sure if I could still navigate that coaching carousel and the political aspect of it. And I wanted to come home, and so I decided to build an organization where I could have kids play for free and not listen to parents. And it's kind of like playing, like. We feed, 1,000 people a day, and, we have 110 full-time staff and the largest sports dome in Minnesota, and a $10 million annual budget. But, every day you go to bed smiling, thinking about all the good work you do. And every morning you wake up and, like, if you don't work just as hard, someone's not going to eat, someone's not going to show up for practice. So it gave me the motivation, like playing, like, you got to get up every day and run. There are no days off. And so it was a good transition for me to keep me motivated, giving back. And, I always say the best gift is being able to give. So I've been truly blessed to have two jobs in my life that I love. I miss the locker room and some of the guys, and some of these, big events allow me to reconnect. But I get to be home around my family. I just had a 1-year-old, so I started late. So,
congrats.
Yeah. But life's been good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Look, I married into a Minnesota family. My in-laws are from Rochester, Minnesota, and also Minneapolis. So, on behalf of them, on behalf of adopted Minnesotan, thank you for what you do in the community. And I know they'll be watching this show and watching this segment. You're one of the true greats.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Tony, one thing before we go, especially with the focus on Black History Month, some of the Black history stories in the United States are the stories of immigrants. Your dad is from Gambia, correct?
Yes.
Similarly to Charlie's father, Charlie Davies, is our very own Charlie. His father was from Gambia, immigrated into the United States, and he has a soccer story with African roots. What was that experience like for a Minnesotan from an African father, married an American mother, and produced a player that was worthy for the U.S. men's national team? What was that experience like?
Well, I'm not going to lie. I had good genes, right? And I went to visit my dad's family when I was 6 and stayed a couple of years in Africa. And so that's when I truly learned the game. But I think this sport embraced me in the community here. I always had a group of friends from a 12 to when we were 19 winning the national championship, just a small group of friends from our neighborhood that soccer let us be a part of something. And so I was blessed by, having grown up and seen different cultures and learning different things and really, figuring out what community means. So, there's a lot of people that did this stuff before us. And so, I'm honored to be a part of it. And I think we have to keep learning from our past and hope and work hard for the future.
Now, we're going to take you from the community back to the pitch because you talked about missing the locker room. And, you played with some legends. And I think that we have a best 11. Was it you that put this best 11 together? I mean, man, there's some ballers in this best 11. What's your reaction when you see some of these names, man? I mean, Brian McBride, Nico, banging in goals, both for the national team. Jaime Moreno, I mean, that is MLS Cup MVP, right, 97?
Yeah, I had this was really hard. I put some asterisks on there, like Jaime and Landon was a tough one. When Landon retired, he was definitely the greatest U.S. player of all time. So that was really hard, with that one. And I think I was in camp with Clint Dempsey, but not on the field with him. And so I would definitely put Clint up there. If I had actually played, more games with him. And Tim Howard, I only played one game with him too. I think he's one of the greats as well. But yeah, these are guys for different reasons that I played with that we got along, and I was blessed to rub shoulders with these guys.
I mean, I love the roster. I love the best 11, but no room for our CBS Sports family, Tony Meola, Jimmy Conrad. Surely there's room for them, man.
I mean, they are for sure, And one thing I will say about Tony Meola, like, I got a great highlight film against this guy. Like he probably, I thank him so much. He's probably why I'm in the Hall of Fame. So I think I scored half of my MLS goals. But in the truth be told, Tony was one of the guys really at the World Cup when I came out that was always coming, checking on me, always telling me how good I could become. And to have that maturity as he changed from playing every day to being a spokesperson to really caring. He's one of those guys that you don't really hear about the nice side of him, why he was so competitive, but he was there. And Jimmy, we only played 1 or 2 games at the end of the career. And I love the guy. He still comes to Minnesota, and but we got room on the bench.
Nice. I was waiting for it. I see that 11, by the way, with Brian McBride up top and in that wide position outright. I know Beckham was pretty good at crosses, but I know another guy that didn't include himself in the best 11 that can hit a pretty good ball to Brian McBride, Tony.
Yeah. Well, I put in the notes, I put Steve, but, he'd probably be backing me up if I could play myself. But without me, he followed my footsteps in Germany and did a great job. And he's just a good person, too. So I love me some Steve Trundolo as a person, and just someone you can count on.
Tony, well, congratulations on all of your success that it's being paid tribute right now with this Hall of Fame inductment announcement now with all of your career, with everything that you've been doing with the foundation. It's absolutely incredible. It's absolutely deserved. Thank you for coming on Morning Footy. Thanks for having me, guys. Thanks for watching this video from Morning Footy. For all news and insights regarding leagues around the world like EFL, Serie A, and all UEFA competitions, both men's and women's, don't forget to sign up for Paramount+.